We're here with Father John Muir after today's 22nd Sunday of Ordinary Time. And Father Muir, I know this weekend it was the deacons' turn to preach. But what did you hear in the homily today, and what was your takeaway from it?
The homilies were on the law of God, which I always find hard to get into at first, because like any American, I'm always a little nervous about the law. Is the law going to take away my freedom? Whether it's man-made laws, God's law, but then the different homilies I heard today, there was almost like this breakthrough of, wait a minute, God's law is not a restriction on my freedom primarily. It's something that liberates me in the measure that I take it in. So as I was listening to the preaching, all these different things were kind of running through my mind, and I was like, ooh, I can't wait till these readings come up again, because I was really being moved by it. But I'd say the desire that it put into my heart was, I want to embrace the law of God, which of course is Jesus himself. Mm-hmm. Jesus is the Word of God, the law of God made flesh. So what made me passionate about hearing these readings was Christianity, which builds on Judaism, which loved the law of God, the Torah, it's the fullness of what it means to be human. The law of God is that we live and thrive, the moral law, the spiritual law. And Jesus is the one who puts that law into our being. So that's kind of what I took away and got excited about as I was listening to the deacons preach. It was nice to listen to preaching for a change.
Now, in the gospel today, which was according to Mark, one of the lines we heard was disregarding God's commandments and instead cling to human tradition. And we're seeing that even now in the news on a daily basis. And that's something that it seems that it really needed to be heard by all today. It was perfect timing with these readings.
It's a very helpful distinction between the law of God and then laws that human beings make. So the first are primary and the second are secondary. I wouldn't say necessarily human laws or customs, practices are bad. They're helpful. They help us to respect and honor what's primary, And as sometimes people see Catholics as people we can confuse God's law with human-made laws, and that is a real pitfall we want to avoid. Like, for example, there are like the law of respecting and honoring our brothers and sisters, like don't kill, don't murder. But then little laws about like etiquette, how to greet people, how to have good manners, how to shake hands, how to treat people on the internet. Well, the customs and things will arise out of this. And we don't want to absolutize those. Sometimes in the life of the church, for example, sometimes people, like at Mass, we have laws around how we worship at Mass. Like we have to go to Mass. But if somebody wants to wear certain clothes or sing or not sing, receive a communion a certain way, the church has a certain like man-made freedom in kind of how we do that. So there's no easy answer to that, except I think to just grow in maturity and intelligence to realize man-made laws, there's a certain prudential ways in which I use those according to what those laws and customs are, but those are all help me to grow in the deep abiding truths of objective norms of loving God and loving my neighbor. Those are, insofar as those are revealed by God, they're not I can't just throw them away and say, I just do what I want. Loving God and loving neighbor are sort of these absolute laws that I become free in the measure that I do them. But then the human laws can help me stay on track,
Mm-hmm. Well, Father, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. And we look forward to catching up with you here shortly.
You're welcome. And my thanks to our wonderful deacons for all of their amazing work. They do so much behind the scenes, but when they stand up and preach the Word of God, it's a joy for all of us, especially for us, for the priests, because we get to benefit from their great preaching. So thanks to the deacons, and thanks to everybody. God bless everybody.